a record 3 million under-25s are economically inactive, meaning that they're neither working nor looking for a job, sparking fears that Gen Z is stalling our economic growth.
Excuses include COVID stunting their education, sapping their desire to pursue a career, as well as fierce competition. And check this, the fear of rejection.
So do they have a point? Well, joining us now are two former Apprentice contestants, CEO of Theatre School of Scotland, Reece Donnelly, who says he teaches the younger generation to work hard for maximum return.
Hurrah!
Meanwhile, business owner and broadcaster Joanna Jarjue thinks it's lazy to call Gen Zers lazy and that there's no incentive for young people to work. Welcome both. Joanna, let's start with you. Do you think we're being a bit too harsh on Gen Z?
I do think that we're being a bit too harsh, and I think it is actually the lazy explanation because it's such a nuanced kind of topic and so complicated. We know everything that they've been through when it comes to the pandemic, when it comes to their education and even trying to get a job after the pandemic. We know that a lot of businesses were basically on their knees, and I think that it's harsh to kind of say that they're lazy. So many different generations are happy and kind of gloating about being on the dole. It's not just them, but actually they've got a better excuse than other people that have been in the job market, actually had the experience and still can't be bothered to go out and get a job.
Great to see you again. Hope you're well. Just one thing, you said there's no incentive to work. So let's have a serious conversation before we talk about other generations. When you say they have no incentive, is that because the benefit system is now a career choice for many? Because that's one criticism that would be levelled at the younger generation. When you talk about the pandemic, what would you say to people who lived through the Second World War and still went to work every single morning? Serious question. What would you say to them? What do they think of that comment?
Well, I think that it's different in the sense that obviously with young people, the coming of age at that point when it was the pandemic, and that is such a critical time that, you know, you're kind of transitioning and you're learning to actually go out and get a job.
What happened if you transitioned what happened if that happened in the middle of us being bombed by the Germans? What would those people have done? Sat on the dole? They wouldn't, Reece, would they? They had to get up in the morning and go to work.
I mean, my view is this. I think we have a duty of care to the next generation to teach them to roll the sleeves up and get to work. And I think that we all need to take a little bit of responsibility. For me, fortunately, should I say, get to teach the next generation and get to employ them. And I would say that we all need to wake up and smell the coffee. I think that there's this work ethic that we can come in for the minimum effort for the maximum return, and I think it needs to stop. We need to put our foot down and we need to be telling these Generation Zers that it must stop now.
But Reece,
I don't think it's...
Go on, Joanna.
I don't think it's about work ethic at all. I think that, you know, when I talk about aspiration, it is because of a lack of aspiration. If you go out and get a job for minimum wage or something like that, a starter career, you're spending half of the money trying to even get to work through transport because the trains and
you always started at the bottom,
expensive.
didn't you? What's wrong with starting at the bottom and proving that you're good? Why is an entitled generation saying they expect everything on a plate?
Listen, I remember, Jez, when you actually went to work, had your money and had something to show for it. Now you're spending half of it to actually get to work through transport. You can barely feed yourself.
Right,
so really,
question for you both. What happens if there wasn't a benefit system and they had to do that and they had to earn and they had to pay and it wasn't great, but they had to start at the bottom? That's the argument, Reece, isn't it?
Listen, so what are you suggesting, that we are going to lift and lay people to their work? I think that we all need to look around and understand that by us, you know, backing down and allowing this to continue, what is the next generation going to be like? What is customer service going to be like as well? I think if people want to work from home, as you're saying, people don't want to travel over the door. And I think that, you know, customer-facing roles are going to go as time goes on. But my view on it is this. I think that we need to make a discussion on it now and get everyone back to work before we end up increasing the benefit system that we have. So what do we do in 10 years?
You said something interesting there, actually, Reece. You know, we do have a duty of care, and I'd love to see what the government are actually doing to help these young people transition. We know that over the pandemic, you know, it was young people and women who were most impacted when it came to losing their jobs. So what are they actually doing in terms of skills, in terms of helping them transition? Nothing. It's basically the easy answer to give people benefits. And unfortunately, if you don't have a lot of aspiration, you work in, but actually, you know that long term, you're not really working towards anything because you're probably not going to be able to buy a house workforce anyway, realistically, your confidence is going to be down and you're going to have a lack of aspiration. So it's a major thing that instead of moaning about it, we should actually, as a society and the government, take some responsibility and help guide these young people forward to be working people and contribute to society.
And Reece, don't you think that this is just the next level of blaming the younger generation for the nation's woes? 5 years ago, it was millennials are lazy. They spend too much money on avocado toast. And now we're blaming Gen Z for being lazy. Do you not just think it shows that society in general doesn't do enough, as Joanna is saying, for that generation who are transitioning from education into employment?
I think they should do more for themselves. I think they're entitled. They should get out of bed and go to work.
I was asking Reece.
Just telling you, lazy.
All I've got to say is I echo what you just said there, but I certainly think from us as an organisation, we do a lot to promote educating students on where they can actually work. And I can only speak for Scotland. As a Scottish man, we have an amazing amount of work programmes in Scotland. And I actually think now we have a world where children and young people are exposed to working from a much younger age. They can see behind the doors of what's going on at businesses. So no, I don't think that we need to do much more. I think that we need to... A bit of tough love wouldn't go amiss, is what I've got to say on it.
I don't think that...
Go on,
Nicola. I was just going to say that one of the things that we haven't actually talked about is the mental health crisis that we've got at the moment when it comes to young people. It isn't something that should be, you know, played down. Overall, they're having a massive mental health crisis, but also with the pandemic on top of that. I don't think it's any accident that we're seeing these record levels of unemployment in this particular cohort of young people, just based on what's happened in recent years.
I should put to you both. I will put this to you both. I will put this to you both from my father-in-law, Rob, who's 80. He says, quite simply, old Robbie, get on your bike. He cycled 8 miles each way to work 6 days a week, and he didn't have much money left because he gave it to his mum. That's what a lot of people in this country think you should do, entitled. But there we go, a debate.
Well, thank you so much to Joanna, Jarjue and Reece Donnelly for joining us this morning. Quite a fiery one.